So what story is your life telling? In Philippians chapter 1, Paul says this, "And this is my prayer, that your love may abound more and more in knowledge and depth of insight, so that you may be able to discern what is best and may be pure and blameless for the day of Christ." He's saying, I pray that your love for others would get bigger and better, more and more, that it would abound. He's saying, I pray you would become a better lover of people, in essence. I mean, that's the way of Christianity. At least that's what it should be according to the Scriptures. Paul is telling us to be blameless in the way you treat people. This is what God is trying to do inside of all of us. God is trying to make you a better lover of people. The essence of Christian maturity is not our invisible love for an invisible God. The essence of Christian maturity is when someone can love another person, especially a person who is difficult to love, and especially someone who doesn't believe anything close to what you believe. That's when you know you're making progress. That's when spiritual maturity is at its best. There's a friend of mine who many years ago now began to come to church, at our church, and I remember hearing his story. And he had an atheist dad and a Buddhist mom, and he came to our church, and he had a different lifestyle than sort of a typical churchgoer, you would say, or a typical Christian. And he came once because he was just like curious. We had a church in a nightclub, so he's like, oh, that sounds interesting, I'll check this out. He was a skeptic. And he came, and over many months that went by, he kept returning. But he was very adamant, I'm not a Christian, I'm never going to be a Christian. I know you want me to become a Christian, but I'm not going to become a Christian, so let's just like stop that right now. And we tried to respect him and honor him. But along the way, I'll never forget the conversation we had. I'm walking down a sidewalk with him, and I ask him, I say, so why do you keep coming to our church? Because you don't want to become a Christian. We're obviously a Christian church. We talk about Jesus. You don't believe in Jesus. I was really curious, like, why do you keep coming, And he stopped me dead in my tracks, and he looked at me, and he said, because the people at your church love really well. And I just thought, wow, if we could get this as a tribe of Jesus followers. I mean, what if that was true about every church? What if that was true about every Christian? Every person who followed Jesus, that they would exude love so much that people would say that about us. Now, he didn't go because he heard great talks or the music was great or whatever other reason. He went because he felt loved. And to be a relationally intelligent person, that ought to be what is produced on the other side. In other words, that ought to be what other people experience when they relate to you. And that's the goal, and that's the dream. And I know, again, we're not perfect, right? We're all imperfect, far from perfect. But this is the journey, that we would become people, that we would become a tribe, that we would become a community that loves really well. And the only way to get there is to think more intentionally about how you do relationships. To think more intentionally about first your relationship with God, but also your relationship with others. And how's that going? To not let it just drift, but to be intentional. And as we've been talking about in this e-course, asking questions, listening, being present with people, right? Paying attention closely to what their story is, to what their dreams are, to what they believe, to what they value. All those things basically get translated to another in love. So let's be that kind of people.